Every man who walks down the aisle believes he's found happiness. He looks at his bride and genuinely thinks his life is about to begin. Fast forward 10 years and that same man sits in his car in the driveway for 20 minutes before going inside. Not because he's busy, but because he's dreading walking through his own front door. He's lost weight or gained 50 pounds. His eyes have that distant look of someone who stopped dreaming years ago. And when you ask him if he's happy, he gives you that rehearsed answer, "Yeah, man, life is good," with a smile that never reaches his eyes. Something died inside him, and he can't even articulate what it was. Arthur Schopenhauer watched this transformation happen to countless men throughout his life, and he identified exactly what marriage does to a man's soul. It's not dramatic. It's not a single moment of destruction. It's a slow, systematic dismantling of everything that makes a man vital, powerful, and alive. According to Schopenhauer, marriage doesn't just limit a man's freedom. It murders his essence while convincing him that this murder is actually love, commitment, and maturity. By the end of this video, you'll understand the exact mechanism through which marriage destroys men, why society celebrates this destruction, and what you can do to protect yourself from becoming another casualty in this ancient system designed to sacrifice individual greatness for collective mediocrity. Let's begin with what Schopenhauer called the will to life, and how marriage weaponizes it against men specifically. Schopenhauer understood that humans are driven by an unconscious force he called the will to life, an insatiable drive that uses individual humans as temporary vehicles to perpetuate itself. This will doesn't care about your happiness, your dreams, or your personal fulfillment. It cares about one thing only, ensuring the continuation of the species through reproduction. For men specifically, the will to life operates through sexual desire, ambition, and the drive to build and create. These forces make young men feel invincible, capable of anything, ready to conquer the world. You feel this energy coursing through you in your 20s, this sense that you're going to accomplish something significant, that your life will matter, that you're destined for something more than ordinary existence. Then marriage enters the picture and everything changes. Not immediately. That's why the trap works so effectively, but gradually, systematically, like a slow-acting poison that kills you so gently, you don't realize you're dying until it's far too late to save yourself. The first thing marriage kills is a man's time. Before marriage, your time belonged to you. Time. You could spend 12 hours building a business, pursue a passion project until 3 in the morning, take spontaneous trips, or simply do nothing without justification. Your time was the raw material from which you built your life, your career, your legacy. Marriage transforms time from resource into obligation. Suddenly, every hour must be accounted for, justified, and negotiated. You can't stay late at work without it becoming a problem. You can't spend your Saturday on a personal project without it being interpreted as rejection. You can't take time for yourself without it being framed as selfishness or neglect. Schopenhauer observed that a man's time is his life, and marriage is the systematic transfer of that life from his control to someone else's demands. Think about what actually happens. Your wife needs you to run errands, attend social functions you don't care about, spend quality time that translates to doing activities she wants, help with household tasks that could be done by anyone, and be emotionally available on her schedule regardless of what you're working on. Each request seems reasonable in isolation, but together, they represent the complete annexation of your time for purposes other than your own. What you don't realize during the honeymoon phase is that you've entered into a contract where your time is no longer yours to allocate. You've agreed, often without understanding what you were agreeing to, that another person's needs, preferences, and emotional states now have veto power over how you spend your finite existence. Years pass, and you look back wondering where your time went, why you never finished that project, never built that business, never traveled to those places, never became the man you planned to become. The answer is brutally simple. Your time was consumed by obligations that had nothing to do with your authentic goals, and everything to do with maintaining a relationship that required the sacrifice of those goals. Schopenhauer wrote that buying books would be a good thing if one could also buy the time to read them. In marriage, you can't even buy time. It's seized from you under the banner of love and commitment. But time is just the beginning. Marriage kills a man's ambition even more effectively than it kills his time. Before marriage, you had big dreams. You were going to build something significant, make real money, achieve recognition in your field, create something that mattered. Your ambition was your fuel, the force that got you up early and kept you working late. You were hungry, and that hunger made you dangerous, capable, and interesting. Marriage systematically destroys this hunger by replacing ambition with obligation. Suddenly, you're not working to build your empire. You're working to fund a lifestyle that someone else demands. You're not taking calculated risks to achieve breakthrough success. You're playing it safe because someone else's security depends on your stability. You're not pursuing your most exciting opportunities. You're choosing paths that accommodate someone else's preferences about where to live, how much time you're home, and what kind of lifestyle she's entitled to. Schopenhauer understood that greatness requires single-minded focus and willingness to sacrifice everything else for your goal. Marriage makes this impossible because it contractually obligates you to prioritize someone else's happiness over your ambition. Every wife says she supports your dreams until those dreams require sacrifices she doesn't want to make. She supports your business until it means you're working weekends. She supports your goals until they conflict with her timeline for children, her desire for a bigger house, or her need for more attention. Slowly, imperceptibly, your ambition shrinks to fit what's acceptable within the marriage. You stop thinking about what you could accomplish and start thinking about what's practical given your obligations. You stop taking big swings and start managing responsibilities. You stop being a man on a mission and become a man on a treadmill, running hard but going nowhere. The most successful men throughout history, the ones who built empires, created masterpieces, and changed the world, were either unmarried or treated their marriages as secondary to their mission. Schopenhauer himself never married, observing that marriage would have destroyed his ability to produce the philosophical works that continue influencing human thought centuries after his death. He watched married men abandon their potential, sacrifice their ambitions, and convince themselves that mediocrity was actually maturity. He saw clearly what most men only realize decades too late, that marriage and masculine greatness are fundamentally incompatible because greatness requires freedom that marriage systematically eliminates. Now let's talk about what marriage does to a man's energy. Energy, not just physical stamina, but that vital life force that makes you feel powerful, capable, and alive. Young, unmarried men have abundant energy. They can work all day, train at night, pursue projects, and still have fuel in the tank. This energy isn't just physical. It's psychological, creative, and sexual energy that needs expression through achievement, challenge, and conquest. Marriage drains this energy through constant emotional labor that most men don't even recognize is happening. You wake up and immediately have to gauge her mood. Is she happy, annoyed, distant? Your entire day's trajectory depends on interpreting signals that are often deliberately ambiguous. You come home from work and can't just decompress. You have to immediately engage, ask about her day, provide emotional support, and manage whatever issues arose during your absence. You want to work on your project, but she needs to talk about her feelings, her work stress, her friend drama, or her anxiety about the future. Every single one of these interactions drains your energy while providing nothing in return. Schopenhauer called this the burden of existence, but in marriage, you're carrying double the burden, your own existential weight plus hers. Men are biologically wired to solve problems, so when your wife presents problems, you instinctively try to solve them. But here's what marriage teaches you slowly and painfully. She doesn't want solutions. She wants endless emotional processing that goes nowhere but drains you completely. You spend hours discussing the same issues, repeatedly offering solutions that are rejected, trying to help in ways that are criticized, and ultimately exhausting yourself in service of emotional needs that can never actually be satisfied because they are not problems to be solved. They're features of her emotional landscape that require permanent management. What's left of your energy after working, earning, solving, managing emotions, maintaining the household, and meeting her needs? Nothing. You collapse into bed exhausted, wake up to do it again, and slowly forget what it felt like to have energy for your own purposes, your own passions, your own life. Schopenhauer observed that a man's sexual energy is his most powerful force, capable of driving extraordinary achievement when channeled properly. Marriage converts this energy from creative fuel into obligation. Sex transforms from passion into duty, from exciting to scheduled, from something that energizes you to something that depletes you. The performance pressure, the need to maintain her satisfaction, the guilt when you're too exhausted, all of it turns your most vital energy into another responsibility you're failing at. Years into marriage, men describe feeling tired all the time. They blame age, stress, or health issues, but the real cause is simpler. Marriage is an energy extraction system that continuously draws from your reserves, while providing no mechanism for replenishment. You give and give and give until you're running on empty, going through motions, existing rather than living. Beyond time, ambition, and energy, marriage kills something even more fundamental to masculine identity: a man's independence. Before marriage, you were sovereign. Your decisions were yours to make. Your money was yours to spend. Your life was yours to direct. You could change careers, move cities, take risks, or make mistakes without needing permission or consensus. This independence is what makes a man feel like a man, the knowledge that he's the master of his own fate, the captain of his own ship. Marriage replaces sovereignty with committee decision-making, where every choice requires negotiation, compromise, and often surrender. You can't make a major purchase without discussion. You can't change jobs without her approval. You can't move for a better opportunity if she doesn't want to leave her friends and family. You can't invest in a risky venture that might pay off huge because she needs security. Every decision becomes a negotiation, where your preferences are just one vote in a two-person democracy that usually results in her preferences winning, because the cost of conflict is higher than the value of getting your way. Schopenhauer wrote that a man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. In marriage, this becomes even more constrained. A man can't even do what he wants, and his wants themselves are slowly shaped by what's acceptable to his wife. Think about the last major life decision you made as a married man. Did you make it based on what you genuinely wanted, or did you make it based on what would cause the least conflict? Did you choose based on your authentic preferences, or based on what she would accept? Most married men, if they're honest, can't remember the last time they made a purely independent decision about anything significant in their lives. Your independence has been so thoroughly eroded that you don't even recognize it's gone. You've internalized her preferences, learned to preemptively eliminate options she wouldn't approve of, and convinced yourself that this is compromise and partnership, rather than the systematic destruction of your autonomy. Schopenhauer observed that the most common form of despair is not being who you are. Marriage creates this despair by forcing men to become who their wives need them to be, rather than who they actually are. Where does your soul actually live as a man? It lives in your authenticity, in that core essence of who you are when nobody's watching, when there are no expectations to meet, when you can just be yourself without performance or pretense. Marriage kills this authentic self through a process so gradual that you don't notice it happening. It starts with small accommodations. She doesn't like your friends, so you see them less. She thinks your hobby is a waste of time, so you do it less often. She wants a different lifestyle than you do, so you adjust your preferences. She has opinions about your clothes, your car, your career, your family, and you modify yourself to reduce conflict. Each change seems minor, reasonable even. What's the big deal about skipping poker night to make her happy? What's wrong with dressing a bit more like she prefers? Why not take the safer job if it gives her peace of mind? But Schopenhauer understood that the self is not a fixed thing. It's a continuous act of becoming. Every time you suppress your authentic preference to maintain relationship harmony, you're not just making a temporary accommodation. You're actually changing who you are. You're training yourself out of your own desires and into someone else's vision of who you should be. 10 years into marriage, you look in the mirror and don't recognize the man looking back. He dresses differently than you would choose, works a job you wouldn't have selected, lives in a place you wouldn't have picked, spends his time on activities you don't care about, and has systematically eliminated everything that made you uniquely yourself. You became a character in someone else's story, rather than the author of your own. This isn't conscious or malicious. It's the inevitable result of a system that requires constant compromise from men, while allowing women to maintain their preferences as non-negotiable needs. She needs to live near her family, but your career opportunity across the country is just a want. She needs regular date nights, but your need to work on your business is selfish. She needs emotional support, but your need for solitude is withdrawal. The framing of her preferences as needs and yours as wants creates a permanent power imbalance where you're always the one accommodating, adjusting, and sacrificing pieces of yourself. Schopenhauer wrote that every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. In marriage, your world shrinks to the limits of what your wife can tolerate, accept, or approve of. Everything beyond those limits becomes impossible, impractical, or inconsiderate. Your soul, which needs space to expand and express itself, slowly suffocates in this contracting world. What city are you watching from right now? Look around at the married men in your city and observe them carefully. Notice how many seem to be living fully, versus how many seem to be going through the motions. Notice the ones who had big dreams and big energy before marriage, and now seem diminished, quieter, less ambitious. What you're witnessing isn't aging or maturity, it's soul death. Now let's examine what marriage does to a man's financial freedom. Money represents more than just purchasing power. It represents options, security, and the ability to make choices based on your values rather than your constraints. Financial freedom is the foundation of all other freedoms, because without it, you're trapped by circumstances. Before marriage, your money was yours to save, invest, spend, or risk according to your own judgment and risk tolerance. You could build wealth aggressively, take calculated risks, or pursue opportunities that might not pay off immediately, but could pay off massively later. Your financial decisions shaped your financial destiny. Marriage transforms money from tool into obligation. Suddenly, you're not just supporting yourself, you're funding a lifestyle that someone else expects. The house has to be bigger because she needs space. The car has to be nicer because she deserves it. The vacations have to be frequent because she needs experiences. The spending has to match her friends' lifestyles because she needs to feel successful. Every dollar you earn is immediately allocated to expenses that she considers non-negotiable. You want to invest aggressively to build real wealth? Too risky, she needs security. You want to cut expenses to save more? Too restrictive, she needs quality of life. You want to take a lower-paying job to pursue your passion? Too irresponsible, she needs financial stability. Schopenhauer observed that wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. In marriage, her lifestyle expectations grow faster than your income, creating a treadmill where you are constantly earning but never building the financial independence that would give you real options. Most married men are trapped in jobs they hate because they can't afford the pay cut that pursuing their real interests would require. They're one income disruption away from financial catastrophe because the lifestyle expenses leave no margin for error. They can't take entrepreneurial risks because failure would mean disappointing someone who depends on them. The result is financial imprisonment disguised as responsibility. You're working to fund someone else's vision of the good life, while your own financial goals, building wealth, achieving independence, creating options, remain perpetually out of reach. Years pass, and you realize you've earned millions of dollars over your lifetime, but have nothing to show for it except a lifestyle that requires you to keep earning at the same pace forever. Schopenhauer warned that we seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. Marriage ensures you're always lacking because her expectations rise faster than your ability to meet them, creating permanent dissatisfaction that drives you to work harder while enjoying life less. Let's talk about what marriage does to a man's peace of mind. Peace, that internal state of calm and clarity, where you can think clearly, make good decisions, and simply exist without constant anxiety. Young men underestimate how valuable peace is until they've lost it and can't remember what it felt like. Before marriage, you had problems, sure, but they were your problems to solve on your timeline. You could wake up with a clear mind, spend your day handling what needed handling, and go to sleep without carrying someone else's emotional weight. Your stress was proportional to your actual circumstances. Marriage destroys peace through constant emotional volatility that you can't predict, control, or escape. You never know what mood she'll be in when you get home. You never know what innocent comment will trigger an argument. You never know when something that was fine yesterday will be a problem today. This unpredictability creates constant low-level anxiety that never fully goes away. You're always slightly on guard, always monitoring for signs of displeasure, always ready to manage the next emotional situation. Schopenhauer said that life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. In marriage, it swings between conflict and walking on eggshells, between explosive arguments and tense silence, between her anger and her neediness. You're never actually at peace because even in the quiet moments, you're subconsciously waiting for the next disruption. This constant state of vigilance is exhausting in ways that are hard to articulate. You can't fully relax in your own home because home is where the emotional volatility lives. You can't fully focus on your work because part of your mind is always tracking relationship dynamics. You can't fully enjoy anything because you're carrying the stress of managing someone else's emotional state. The most damaging aspect is that her feelings become your responsibility. If she's unhappy, it's your job to fix it. If she's anxious, you need to provide reassurance. If she's angry, you need to absorb it or solve whatever caused it. You become responsible for emotional states you can't control in another person who often doesn't know why she feels what she feels. Schopenhauer observed that we can do what we wish, but we can only wish what we must. In marriage, you must manage her emotions so your wishes become subordinated to that endless task. Years of this erode something fundamental, your ability to maintain your own emotional center. You become so accustomed to reacting to her moods that you lose touch with your own emotional landscape. You don't even know how you feel anymore because you've spent so long focused on how she feels. Perhaps the deepest way marriage kills a man's soul is through the destruction of purpose. Men are purpose-driven creatures who need a mission that transcends immediate comfort. This mission gives life meaning, direction, and the willingness to endure hardship. Young men feel this purpose intensely, the drive to build something, achieve something, become someone who matters. This purpose is what makes suffering bearable, what makes sacrifice meaningful, what makes life worth living. Marriage redirects purpose from your mission to relationship maintenance. Your purpose becomes keeping her happy, maintaining household harmony, meeting family obligations, and ensuring stability. These aren't inspirational purposes that make you want to charge into the day. They're maintenance tasks that prevent disaster. Schopenhauer wrote that a man can do as he will, but he cannot will as he will. In marriage, your will itself is reshaped around domestic obligations rather than transcendent goals. You stop asking, "What am I here to accomplish?" and start asking, "What does she need from me today?" The shift is subtle, but devastating because purpose is what makes men feel alive. Without meaningful purpose, you're just going through motions, collecting paychecks and counting down to retirement. You wake up and can't articulate why you're doing any of this except that you have to. The bills need paying, the family needs supporting, the obligations need meeting. But none of it means anything to you personally. You're living someone else's idea of what your life should look like rather than pursuing what actually matters to you. Schopenhauer identified that the greatest achievements in art, philosophy, science, and every field came from men who had the space and freedom to pursue purpose without domestic obligation pulling them away from their mission. Marriage makes sustained focus on meaningful purpose nearly impossible because domestic life continuously interrupts with urgent trivialities that prevent important work. Every married man plans to write that book, start that business, create that thing. But years pass and it never happens because marriage ensures you never have the sustained time, energy, and mental space required for significant achievement. You're too busy managing relationships, meeting obligations, and maintaining stability to ever do the work that would make your life meaningful. This creates a special kind of quiet desperation. The knowledge that you're capable of more, but trapped in circumstances that prevent you from actualizing that capability. Schopenhauer called this the tragedy of unfulfilled potential, and marriage creates this tragedy systematically by making great work incompatible with domestic obligation. So why does society celebrate marriage when it so clearly damages men? Because civilization itself requires men to sacrifice their potential for collective stability. Society needs men to be stable workers, reliable taxpayers, and committed fathers, not dangerous individuals pursuing greatness. Marriage is the primary mechanism through which society domesticates men, channeling masculine energy away from potentially disruptive ambition and into productive obligation. Schopenhauer understood that truth passes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it's accepted as self-evident. The truth about marriage's effect on men is currently in stage 2. When you point out that marriage systematically destroys masculine vitality, you're attacked as immature, afraid of commitment, or unable to handle responsibility. These attacks are society's immune response to ideas that threaten the system. But look at the evidence honestly without the romantic filter society teaches you to see through. Look at married men versus unmarried men at the same age. Who has more energy, vitality, and ambition? Who is building more, creating more, and achieving more? Who seems more alive versus who seems more resigned? The pattern is undeniable once you're willing to see it. Marriage doesn't enhance men. It diminishes them, and this diminishment is celebrated as maturity when it's actually spiritual death. Schopenhauer's final insight on this topic is the most important. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot simultaneously pursue greatness and maintain domestic harmony. You cannot maximize your potential while minimizing conflict. You cannot become who you are capable of becoming while being who someone else needs you to be. Every man must choose between his mission and his marriage, between his purpose and his peace, between becoming great or becoming comfortable. Most choose comfort because society has trained them to view ambition as selfishness and domestication as virtue. But the men who change the world, who create lasting value, who actualize their full potential, they choose differently. They choose mission over marriage, purpose over partnership, greatness over domestic tranquility. This doesn't mean they're alone forever, but it means their primary commitment is to their work, not to relationship maintenance. Schopenhauer lived this choice consciously, remaining unmarried so he could pursue his philosophical work without compromise. His ideas continue shaping human thought centuries later, while the countless men who chose marriage over mission left nothing but genetic legacy and fading memories. Now you understand why marriage slowly kills a man's soul. It kills your time by converting it to obligation, your ambition by replacing it with maintenance, your energy by draining it for emotional labor, your independence by requiring constant negotiation, your authenticity by demanding endless compromise, your financial freedom by creating ever-growing expenses, your peace by generating constant emotional volatility, and your purpose by redirecting it toward domestic stability instead of meaningful achievement. This isn't an accident or a bug, it's a feature. Marriage is designed to sacrifice individual masculine potential for collective social stability. The question is whether you'll participate in your own diminishment or choose a different path. If this video revealed the mechanism through which marriage destroys what makes you vital and powerful, prove you're one of the few strong enough to acknowledge uncomfortable truth. Drop in the comments, "I choose mission over mediocrity," because that declaration marks your refusal to sacrifice your potential for social approval. You've now seen what most men spend their lives denying. Smash that subscribe button because the next video exposes another sacred lie that's even more defended than marriage, and you're now ready to question everything you've been taught to accept without examination. What's coming will separate you further from the domesticated majority, but you're already too awake to go back to comfortable delusion. Stay free, stay focused, stay dangerous.